Hey, welcome. So think about how you learn today. You've got online portals, digital textbooks, maybe even some AI tutors helping you out. It all feels so new, right? But the story of distance education? Well, that actually started over 150 years ago with just a pen, some paper, and a mailbox. And today, we're going to trace that entire journey, from simple letters all the way to intelligent algorithms.
I mean, we're all completely used to this by now. Course websites, online quizzes, submitting assignments digitally. This whole world of blended learning feels like it's just always been here. But it's actually the result of this long quest to solve one single, really fundamental challenge in education.
And that challenge is something called transactional distance. And what's so interesting is that this isn't about how many miles are between you and your school. Nope, it's a pedagogical gap. It's that feeling of being disconnected, from your teacher, from your classmates. And as you're about to see, every single piece of tech in this story is really just about one thing, trying to close that gap.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning, to an era that was pretty much defined by that distance. A time when, if you were a student trying to learn from afar, you were almost completely on your own. This was truly the era of isolation.
At first, it was pure correspondence. We're talking packets of paper sent through the mail. Then the second generation started adding some new tools, things like audio and videotapes. And those audio tapes were actually one of the very first steps toward making learning more accessible for visually impaired learners. But the dynamic? It was still the same. It was a one-way street. All the information flowed from the school to the student, and that was pretty much it. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Learners were totally passive, totally isolated. And the result? A lot of people just dropped out. That transactional distance we were talking about it was way too big. It was obvious that for this whole idea to work, something really big had to change. And that big change, of course, was the internet. This is the moment everything flips. This is when technology finally starts building bridges across that distance, and it kicks off a complete revolution in how we learn.
This really shows you the shift, doesn't it? We went from this one-way fire hose of content to a real network of two-way interaction. All of a sudden, communication wasn't just some nice add-on, it became the absolute core of the learning experience.
So the third generation, or telelearning, gave us our first real taste to this. It used tech like broadcast TV and radio for conferencing. And this introduced synchronous communication, which is just a fancy way of saying everyone learning together at the same time. For the very first time, you could have a live discussion with your professor in your class no matter where you were. And then came Generation 4, and this is where things just exploded. The web gave us email, discussion forums, and those learning management systems, or LMS, that we all know so well today. Learning wasn't just interactive anymore, it was flexible. I mean, think about it. You could suddenly access an entire university library from your desk at home. That was a game changer.
And this wasn't just a cool tech thing. There was a huge economic shift happening at the same time. The knowledge economy started to boom, which meant workers had to constantly learn new skills to stay relevant. And that created this massive demand for exactly the kind of flexible education that the web could offer, which is what really fueled its incredible growth.
Which brings us right up to today, to the fifth generation. This is where artificial intelligence walks onto the stage, and it promises learning that isn't just flexible, but is actually intelligent.
The key phrase here is intelligent agent technologies. Basically, this is AI that acts like your own personal tutor. It watches how you learn, it sees where you're getting stuck, and it adapts the entire lesson just for you, right there on the fly. And you can imagine this has enormous potential for accessibility, creating customized learning paths for absolutely everyone.
So how does that actually work? Well, it's a really simple but powerful loop. First, the system just watches what you're doing, what you get right, where you struggle. Then the AI crunches all that data to figure out what you specifically need. And finally, it gives you a totally personalized response, maybe a new video or a different kind of practice problem, all designed to help you get it.
Okay, so we've got AI now. You'd assume all that old tech, the printouts, the tapes, the basic websites would just go away, right? Well, here's one of the most surprising things about this whole story. They don't. And the reason they stick around is actually incredibly important.
This quote really says it all. New generations add to the toolkit. They don't just replace everything that came before. And that creates this amazing layered system, which turns out to be a crucial feature, not some bug, because having more tools means we have more ways to build bridges for more people. When you get right down to it, keeping low-tech solutions is all about access.
A printed course is still the absolute best option for someone in a rural area with no internet. An audio file can be a total lifeline for a visually impaired student. Having this variety ensures that no matter what the barrier is, geographic, economic, even political, there is still a pathway to learning. It's about meeting every single person exactly where they are.
And so this whole journey brings us to one huge final question. If technology keeps getting better and better at shrinking that distance, making learning truly personal, truly accessible from anywhere on Earth, what does that mean for the future of the physical university campus? What's a campus even for, when the classroom can be anywhere? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for watching.